Persona 4. My favorite game ever alongside Kingdom Hearts 2. I've played the entire game twice through, and each time, I can't help but get so excited. You can also see one of those times on my gaming channel. It was my first Persona game, and I have such great memories with it. It made me discover that JRPGs aren't all that bad. It's a game that was pretty tough to get your hands on, but now that they're re-releasing Persona 3, 4, and 5 on all modern platforms, you can now play these fantastic games. But enough about that. Let's get into my favorite of the series, Persona 4. Now, Persona 4 is about a protagonist, who's unnamed by the way, but has a canon name given by Atlas, so I'll refer to him from now on by Yu Narukami. After living in the city for some time, he moves to this small town known as Inaba while his parents are away. He lives with his uncle Dojima and his daughter Nanako. While Yu is there, he meets many new people, adjusts to life in this small town, and eventually has to deal with the strange murders occurring in this town. After meeting some new friends, one of them mentions the Midnight Channel, which is a channel that supposedly shows your soulmate at midnight on a rainy night. Yu tries this supposed rumor and realizes that he can stick his hand into the TV, so the next morning he tries to tell his friends about this, and they laugh at him, because who'd believe this? They eventually try going inside the TV, and it works. From here, they learn that there's someone throwing people into the TV world, and the people thrown in eventually die. So with the protagonist awakening to his persona, which is his true self, he can defeat the enemies known as shadows, who are killing these people thrown into the TV. Yu realizes that he and his friends, who also awaken to personas, are the only ones who can stop these murders. So, as the investigation team, as they call themselves, they try to prevent the murders from taking place. It's so satisfying trying to figure out who's the one behind the murders, because there's so many twists and turns, and the story will always leave you guessing. So how this game works is that you balance everyday life, like school, hanging out with friends, etc., with classic JRPG dungeon crawling. You think that the everyday life stuff would be boring, but by doing these things, it can help you in the dungeon crawling sections. Persona, which are the monsters you use in battle, can be collected just like Pokemon. Each persona has specific traits and characteristics you can use in battle, and getting a complete Pokédex, or compendium as this game calls it, is just part of the fun. Persona can also be crafted by fusing 2 or more persona together. The created persona can carry over skills from the 2 persona used to make the new one, so there's a lot of depth in creating personas to your liking. With social links, or the hangout events, each time you do one, the specific tarot card rank of the person you're interacting with will go up, and with it comes new abilities you can utilize in dungeons, like party members unstunning people, stunning enemies, or even party members dying for you. How the battles work is that you walk up to an enemy, try to hit them without being noticed for an advantage, then take them out using various magic or physical abilities. It's like Pokemon. You hit an enemy with a weakness to kill them, but unlike Pokemon, when you hit an enemy with a weakness, the enemy gets knocked down. You get another turn if you hit an enemy with a weakness. Knock down every enemy, and you can perform an all-out attack, which is this big group attack that deals a lot of damage. So that's how most battles go. The higher your social link ranks are with the various people you interact with, the more efficient your battles will be. This gameplay loop is so addicting. You can do stuff outside of the dungeon, like hang out with friends and whatnot, but what's even more interesting is that you can only do one thing in the morning and one thing at night, and only some things are available on some days, depending on weather or even holidays. You have to choose the things you do wisely, otherwise you won't be able to get all the perks you could use within a dungeon. Time management simulator is what I like to call it. Never a dull moment. Now, in the past, you couldn't do stuff at night, but after a certain point in this game, you now can. Golden, which is the definitive version of this game, has many gameplay improvements like better dungeon traversal, a new character in dungeon, new social links, the ability to choose what skills transfer over when fusing Persona, new areas, new events, and even new cutscenes. It really is the definitive version of this game. The only problem is that the dungeons can be a bit grindy. In Persona 5, they made the dungeons interesting with various puzzles and whatnot, but if you're coming from Persona 5, you might not like the dungeons in this game. They are procedurally generated mazes with shadows and treasure in them. Some can be convoluted, while others are just too long or they make you backtrack. I even have to admit that there are too many dungeons, especially with Golden. The new dungeon they add has this mechanic where you lose SP or magic points after every battle, which is more annoying than a cool mechanic. While you get items that restore SP after every turn, it's still a grind which you have to go through 10 floors of. There's also the secret final dungeon, which is really long and has really strong enemies. Now, if you die, you lose all of your progress and you have to start from the beginning. That's the brutal part of old Persona games. In Persona 5, there are many safe rooms around where you can save, but in Persona 3 and 4, the only save points are right before a big boss or when you enter a dungeon. Luckily in Golden, if you die, you can start from the beginning of the floor you died on. In the old one, if you died, you had to start from your last save, and if you didn't save for a while, just cry, I guess. Also, if you're coming here from Persona 5, be warned. The older Persona games are much harder in my opinion. Enemies take longer to kill, there are tons of enemies with no weaknesses, and they all deal a lot of damage, so prepare yourself. Now this is one of the best parts of the game for me. The investigation team is my favorite team out of all the Persona games I've played. They feel so tight-knit, and it really helps that you get to see their Persona awakenings in this game. Persona Awakening is a bit different between each game. Persona 3 didn't show it, while Personas 4 and 5 both showed it. In Persona 4, they have to accept a part of themselves that they've hidden away from the world. It's like becoming best friends with someone. You initially don't share or even act naturally around people you just met, but when you get to know them, you start to feel more natural around them and share a lot more. That's Persona Awakening in this game. I think it really helps add more nuance to these characters, because we get to see all sides of them, and it really makes each character feel more alive. Chie is the tomboy meat lover who loves kung fu, but also has a lot of insecurities of how people see her. Yosuke is the best friend archetype that's kind of full of himself and becomes someone you can relate to, since he's also from the city, but also has a lot of envy towards the main protagonist. And that's just two of the characters. Each character has insecurities that are revealed throughout the story. There's also social links in this game for each party member. In Persona 3, you couldn't do social links with every character, but in this game, you can, and each one reveals other things about the characters you'd never know, like jobs they want to do when they're older, more insecurities, and even preferences towards the things that they like. They really feel like a friend you can hang out with in real life. How each party member interacts with each other in the main story also showcases a lot more of themselves too. There are also so many hangout events for the team. I think these events are important so we can see the closeness of the group. There were already a lot in base Persona 4, but in Golden, they add so many more, like the fireworks, true story, and even a skiing trip. These events are just as important as the main story, so we really get a sense of the friendship this group shares. They don't only get together for this goal, they become true friends, which really fits with this whole game. I can't stress enough how good the characters are in this game. While the side character social links aren't as good as Persona 5's, they still follow a theme of accepting your true self, and some of them are really good, like Naoki's, which deals with overcoming the death of a family member. The only character I don't like too much is Marie. She's too much of a tsundere for me. She constantly berates you over and over again, even though she grows an attachment to you. I usually like these characters, but she's a little too much. She eventually gets better, but I didn't really like her. The rest of the characters though are definitely a high point for me. I love how Persona games present themselves, because they're always flashy looking, especially Persona 5. Persona 4 still looks good though. The menus and the overall color scheme really pops, due to the yellow color. I love the theme of this game the most. Every Persona game has a specific theme. With Persona 3, it's death. This game is pursuing your true self, and Persona 5's is rebellion. I love how Persona 4 utilizes its theme, from the cheery pop songs to the overall bright vibes of the overworld. It really juxtaposed the truth of the grisly murders in the TV world well. In the TV world, we have a lot of darker vibes with rock music to back it up. This is why I love the opening of Golden a lot more than OG Persona 4. It's just a visual delight with striking colors and dancing, but it only showcases the murders or its true nature. Very little, and it's very fitting for this game. On the surface, it seems like a nice game where you're a transfer student meeting new friends and enjoying your new life, but it's actually a very dark story, hidden by the guise of safety. It's really clever. Another consistent hit for all the Persona games. This happens to be my favorite of the three. They utilize J-pop sounding songs to support the happy-go-lucky atmosphere that Persona 4 looks like on the surface. All the songs are so catchy. I've been listening to these songs non-stop since I first played the game. I also really love the dungeon themes and the boss themes. They're all very different from the J-pop we hear in the overworld, but they support the whole true self thing. This is the truth, and it's dark and intense, so the rock songs we hear definitely support that. I especially love the mini-boss theme. So hype. Shoji Meguro is the man responsible for all the Persona songs, and he is the GOAT. Every song he makes is a hit, and they're all so catchy. I'm excited to hear what he has in store for future titles. I love Persona 4. From the engaging story that will keep you guessing at every turn, to the awesome gameplay loop that will keep you hooked from the beginning, it really is an amazing game. There are obviously some problems, like how dungeons can get grindy, and how the game takes a little bit to really get started. But overall, this is a near perfect game for me. Very little flaws, and I like basically everything about it. Now while this isn't the best Persona game gameplay wise, that goes to Persona 5 Royal, it's the most consistent in everything else. If you're coming from Persona 5, I hope you like this game, because you might be surprised with how good this game really is. Now if you've never played a Persona game before, you're in for a wild ride. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. This video has been a long time in the making, literally since I started this channel. I just wanted to make it the best it could be. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe, like, and comment so we can get this to a wider audience. See you next time, and don't forget, join the Hive Mind.